I will miss Chernobyl. Chernobyl is like a deep wound that, when it heals, leaves a mark, and it reminds you of itself over the years with yet another scar on your skin, or maybe deep down in your soul, where we keep our secrets, our fears, our defeats like the one on the night of April 26, 1986, that changed the world. But today, Chernobyl is also much more. I would tell you about it. This is about a journey through time that began quietly and unassumingly, which at first did not immediately sweep me up in its whirlwind of history, drama, and conflicting emotions. Yet, day after day, it managed to gradually win me over in a steady crescendo of discoveries, encounters, and truly breathtaking sunsets, all in a place that feels much more like Lapland or a northern European country in the heart of autumn, rather than what you might expect from the most radioactive place in the world. Good morning, it's the second day here in Chernobyl. As you can see, it's already quite cold. Look at the frozen cars. Today, no backpack, no drones, because we're going to get very, very close. That's because you can't fly drones within a 5-kilometer radius of the nuclear power plant, so no drones. In fact, today we're going inside. To enter the last 10 kilometers of the exclusion zone, we also have to pass a second checkpoint. Right now they are double-checking our documents very carefully. Today we don't have any drones with us, so there are no issues with serial numbers or registration paperwork. Nah. And that's it. Once they give us the official go-ahead, we'll get even closer, and then we're more or less free to move around as we please. We're still here waiting because actually, to go beyond this area, you need to have a special guide with you, who will then accompany us all the way inside the power plant. So inside the nuclear plant itself. Here we are right outside the nuclear power plant, which is right behind me. You can see the sarcophagus. Now we're heading over here instead on the bridge because we're going to find out if one of the many urban legends about a series of monster fish that have supposedly developed here in Chernobyl due to the radiation is actually true. Let's go see if that's really the case. The guide advised us to walk, no actually, required us to walk only on. We are standing here on the asphalt, and the reason for this is quite clear. Everything else around us within this 10-kilometer zone is considered to be highly contaminated and unsafe to walk on. Because of the radioactive particles that may be present, we have to be very careful about where we step and what surfaces we touch. To help us check for contamination, we brought some bread from home, and the idea is to see if any bubbles appear on its surface. Can you see them forming? Good morning. Now, with the help of our special guide, who is here to assist us and ensure our safety, we are about to enter the nuclear power plant. And, of course, we will be given special protective clothing specifically designed for the visit. We obviously can't touch anything at all or even set anything down on the ground like the cameras we bring. We'll have to hold everything carefully in our hands at all times. Lunch is included as part of the visit. We'll have it right here inside the facility. We'll go visit Reactor 3 and also the exploded Reactor 4, and obviously we can only stay a few minutes inside these particular areas because we've also been given a special dosimeter to monitor our exposure. Because at the end of the tour, they'll also measure the level of radiation that we've accumulated in our bodies over the course of our visit. We'll see how it goes and we'll find out what the results are. Let's say that probably the level of, not anxiety, but in general, the tension rises a bit here because of what we're seeing and experiencing. But there's also a lot of life here, and there are 2,000 people who work here every single day, so it's not just a deserted or abandoned place. It's a place where people live, work, and carry on with their daily routine. So let's say everything appears to be quite normal and perfectly orderly. As soon as you arrive, the very first thing they have you do is sit down on a chair. They carefully ask for your current weight and height. in order to give you the most appropriate personal clothing. Then we have to leave our own clothes, but before that, they measure, using some chairs that look a bit homemade, the level of radioactivity that has accumulated in our bodies before entering. And then we'll do the when we leave to see how much that value has changed during the visit. I didn't know we would all have to undress like this, more or less, because now we'll be given special clothing, but I thought there would be at least a bit of privacy. Instead, no, we're in a set that looks like... We have waited for this moment, and now, here we are, all suited up and ready to go. We are fully dressed in our protective gear, making sure everything is secure, and now we are prepared to explore the plant. The weather outside is very cold, much colder than we expected, and we have been told that we are not allowed to use anything except for the equipment we have with us. This restriction could make things a bit more challenging, I would say, since it limits what we can do. Still, we have to work with what we have. Stop. Now, after we have completed signing several more documents, which is a necessary step before we are allowed to proceed, and before we actually enter the facility, we are heading to the first control room. This room is an important part of the facility, where many of the main operations are monitored. Let's go take a closer look inside, and as we do so, we will gradually make our way to the other control rooms, ensuring we observe how each one contributes to the overall functioning of the facility.
Meanwhile, it is absolutely certain and definitely clear that people smoke in here. The detectors, which are used here,
Now, as we're moving towards the control rooms, are going off a lot. Right now, we're in the control room of reactor number 3, which is in fact absolutely identical in every single way to the control room of reactor 4, the one that tragically exploded in the infamous disaster. This is basically how it has remained over the years, largely unchanged, and it's essentially still a living, breathing testament to what happened there, serving as a powerful reminder of the events that unfolded.
which was the main operational base, serving as the central hub for activities here at the nuclear power plant. We lived here in this very place, and we worked here for more than 30 years, spending a significant part of our lives in this community. Over those decades, we became familiar with our neighbors and the area around us. I remember hearing that there was an accident, though the details are a bit unclear to me now. I am not certain whether I first learned about it by reading something in the newspaper or by seeing a report on television, as both were common ways we received news at the time. What I do know is that I was not present here when the accident happened. The response time of this system was 18 seconds. So after 18 seconds, all the absorber rods that were in the highest position started to move toward the reactor core. The chain reaction stopped, the reactor shut down, and they had to cover a distance of 7 meters. To be fully inserted. After that, the absorber rods began to move slowly, but they immediately started to stop. They were briefly getting stuck at the 2.5
meter mark. These same devices were called Salsoni and showed the position of a rod inside the channel. They started going bim, bim, bim. The absorber holes were blocked. At this point, the channels had already been destroyed by the increased steam pressure. The geometry had changed, which is why it could move. 7 seconds after the reactor was taken, it exploded. Now we've changed our masks and put on gloves as well because we're heading to control room number 4. The scenario here has already changed a lot compared to the first part. The walls are completely damaged. Where in just 7 seconds after pressing the AZ5 button, the world changed. And this is now what remains? Okay, now we have to prepare to leave because our 5 minutes in here are up. Now we need to thoroughly decontaminate ourselves before going out by passing through this
machine. Okay. Reactor 4 and reactor 3 are the ones that... The same structure. For this reason, after the explosion, it was absolutely necessary to completely cut off the destroyed reactor from reactor number 3 in order to ensure the continued safe and reliable operation of reactor number 3. Not long ago, this very square was also carefully stabilized and reinforced, because today it is considered to be one of the important squares to which the architectural structure has now been securely attached.
For 1 full minute, and it was up to each individual person to decide whether or not to go up. I personally went up together with 2 other people, both of whom also made the decision to join me. Upper reactor plate, we are
at unit number 2, reactor number 2, right? But you see reactor number 2 is located at Mach plus 17. Reactor 3 is located higher up at Mach plus 35.
Okay.
35, but yes.
The depth. The diameter, yes, the depth of the reactor core is 7 meters. The diameter
Is almost 12 meters. It remains exactly the same as before, with no changes or differences at all.
Nuclear power plant has come to an end. A very unique visit. Maybe I'll take some time before drawing any conclusions about this experience, and then I'll share them with you. But now we're heading to the place where we were brought by our transfer, which actually works inside, let's say, for the nuclear power plant, because we're moving on to lunch, which is included in the visit. And well, we ran a bit late compared to the schedule because it's 2:30. This thing behind me is one of the fire trucks that intervened on the night of the explosion, because right behind us here is the nuclear power plant, so we're just a few steps away. And then it was abandoned here and has remained here ever since. Now we've set off again in our van, and we're still exploring the area here. Within the 10-kilometer zone and still near the nuclear power plant, because we're also going to see the cooling tower, which is really quite impressive. But unfortunately, as I already mentioned, we're actually too close to the nuclear power plant here, so we can't fly over it, and unfortunately, it's not possible to visit inside. It was open for visits until some time ago, but recently the rules have changed again, always due to reasons related to the current situation. Because of the radiation, which in this particular case is very present and particularly significant, especially in the restricted area inside, we are not allowed to use a drone and cannot take any photos. Even though now we're heading to Pripyat for a preliminary visit to get an initial sense of the environment. Tomorrow we'll have an early wake-up and go to Pripyat to fly. And since Pripyat is very close as a city, just 3 kilometers away perhaps with the drone, we might be able to capture some footage. Now we're going to take the measurement with the Geiger counter, just like we did a few machines